Welcome to another episode of Kicking It with the KTrain, where I chat with people who have helped me keep an eye on my vision. Today, I am pretty excited to chat with a guy who has, well, on the competitive side, so often been I've been racing against, but on the other hand, he has really been super helpful and as an employee in my nutrition partner, Infinite Nutrition. So I am super pumped to introduce Mr. Collin Riley. Collin, welcome to the show, man. How's it going?
It is going good. I'm happy to be here today. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So I want to go ahead and just kind of jump in. So you've been how long have you been doing triathlon? Where did kind of your interest in the sport of triathlon begin? And just walk us through a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I was always active growing up, kind of played all the normal team sports, basketball and baseball and soccer. And yeah, just kind of fell into running in junior high. I think it was my seventh grade science teacher was like one of the cross country coaches and was just always pushing people to join the cross country team. So I didn't join in seventh grade, but in eighth grade, I finally made the leap and started running cross country and track.
Mhm.
Continued running through high school, dealt with a lot of injuries just running. And that's kind of when I just jumped into my first triathlon when I was between my junior and senior year of high school, just for fun. A few of the cross country guys were doing it. Had fun training, mixing in some swimming and some biking.
Mhm.
Yeah, just enjoyed the cross training. Got injured again senior year running. So it just felt like the triathlon was just a really nice balance, kept me a little bit more injury free,
Mhm.
versus just running alone. So that was kind
Mhm.
of the I guess, initial, you know, start in the sport. And then I went to the University of Dayton for
Mhm.
undergrad.
Okay.
And yeah, just decided I was going to maybe try to walk on to the cross country team, but just at that point was enjoying triathlon and decided I was going to just continue to train on my own and ultimately end up helping start the triathlon club at the University of Dayton. So
Oh, wow.
did the whole collegiate triathlon scene, collegiate nationals down in Alabama in 2008 was like my
Mhm.
first big collegiate nationals race. And yeah, continued through at Florida State where I did my grad school and have been racing ever since. So 2005 was my very first triathlon. So
Wow. So I mean, you go to University of Dayton, go on to Florida, Florida State, get your master's degree. And I think you got your degree in, like, what was nutrition kind of always a path that you wanted to take, or, like, what was that kind of path?
yeah. So I went to a pretty big high school in the Chicago area, Naperville Central, and fortunate enough where we had actually a couple of kind of food and nutrition classes. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think just with the running, I was kind of gravitated toward eating healthy and just trying to nourish my body. Especially with the injuries, just trying to optimize the training even at that point. So yeah, I took a few classes there and was kind of liking those. Always enjoyed cooking and yeah, just always kind of like being around food and all
Mhm.
of that. So just figured it would be a nice fit if I could somehow make a career out of something in the nutrition and food world. So yeah, studied nutrition and fitness
Mhm.
at the University of Dayton.
Mhm.
Was there from 2006 to 2010.
Mhm.
All of my requirements that I needed to become a dietitian, but also got some of the fitness, exercise, science, exercise physiology classes while I was there, which was nice.
Mhm.
Because I wasn't, 100% sure what I wanted to do, but knew I was also interested in, the fitness side of things as well. So
Yeah.
and then, yeah, graduated there and then went on to Florida State where I did my master's in nutrition with an emphasis in sports nutrition.
Mhm.
And then ended up just kind of finalizing my whole education at actually Western Kentucky University for my dietetic internship.
Oh,
So I was
wow.
living in Louisville for a year in like the 2012 timeframe.
Okay.
I was then passed my exam and became a registered dietitian. So
Okay. Awesome. So how did you find your way into, so you've been, in basically in paratriathlon since kind of it became a legitimate sport back in 2013. A lot of people, you know, you know, say paratriathlon has been a sport longer than that. It has, athletes with disabilities have been doing triathlon since like the 1980s, but
Yeah.
World Triathlon kind of, or ITU back then, kind of formalized it in like 2010, and then it kind of started. I I consider the modern era of paratriathlon kind of beginning in like that 2013 2014 realm. So like you were kind of on the ground floor of how did you find your way into this world?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it kind of just fell into it. So I first started racing with Aaron Scheides in 2013. As you know, we did the World Championships race, which I'm sure we maybe talk a little bit about as well. But
Yeah.
prior to that, I think I just met Aaron at a few races in the couple of years prior to that. I was
Mhm.
on this like Mid East Team Elite in the Midwest region, Mid East region, I guess, of USA Triathlon, had the different regions and everything like that. So basically just knew one of the guys on the team was one of Aaron's guides, Matt
Mhm.
West. So
Okay.
that's how we got introduced. I'm trying to think, maybe like the High V Triathlon back in the day, Steelhead
Okay.
7.3 in like 2010. I think he was there. So
Mhm.
just a couple of these races, just met him, and then just kind of stayed in touch, through Facebook over the years. And then in
Mhm.
2013, I guess he was looking for a guide that was, fast enough that could keep up with him, and kind of
Yeah.
just saw a post on Facebook and was like, yeah, this seems kind of interesting. And, I'm racing, competitively as an like elite amateur. And I think at that time there were some different rules about, who you could have as a guide. Maybe they couldn't be a pro. I don't know all the exact ins and outs of that, but that was kind of my understanding, is that
Mhm.
couldn't just have any, elite pro at that point. So
Right.
obviously changed over the years a little bit, but
Mhm.
so yeah, just expressed interest. And yeah, I mean, at that point I was doing like the age group national scene and all of that. So
Mhm.
2013, flew out to Seattle for a couple of days to train with Aaron, kind of get the quick rundown on, what it is to be a guide. And from
Yeah.
there, flew out to London. And we did the first race at the 2013 ITU World Championships. So
Yeah. So talk us through that first race guiding experience, for you, and then, kind of, you know, fast forward and tell us a little bit, some of the highlights of your guiding career,
yeah.
over the years. So yeah, really, and some of the changes that you've seen over the time.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I feel like, in my standpoint, I mean, at that point, Aaron, had been racing for quite a few years. I don't know when he first started, but,
Mhm.
it was really kind of him almost showing me the ropes of how to be a guide.
Right.
He had so much experience. So yeah, it was just kind of us getting in sync, with a guide. The more you can, bike with them, you're just going to get
Mhm.
that much more in sync.
Mhm.
Just how the swim worked, how the run worked with the
Mhm.
tethers, and just all the little kind of intricacies of, guiding. So we got there, about a week early before the race, just to give us plenty of time to, get adjusted and, yeah, just kind of get ready for the race. Unfortunately, we did have a little, one of the kind of more memorable kind of panic moments, I guess, was a couple days before the race. We were just doing the course recon, and I guess the rear derailleur didn't get put on quite correctly, and
Uh-oh.
put a little too much power in the bike, and it just the thing exploded. And
Oh.
luckily we didn't, I don't think we went down or anything like that. But yeah, so we were running around London for the rest of the day, trying to figure out, a rear derailleur for the tandem, because that's, tandem specific. Uh,
Yeah.
and all of that. So that was definitely a little stressful, but I think we found what we needed, and I think we finished second behind Dave, that
Yep.
year.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah. Quite a, yeah, that was, I going scrolling back through, results and stuff, it was, that was kind of the, it was, for the next handful of years, it was basically, if Aaron showed up on a start list, everyone kind of knew Aaron was winning. And that was kind of the first time that, Aaron, it was like, who's this dude from Great Britain?
Yeah.
But yeah, you continued racing with Aaron for a few years. Like, I think, just scheduling wise, you guys didn't, race together every single time, but you did quite a few races with him over the years. What were some of the other highlights that you remember from your time racing with Aaron specifically?
Yeah. I went back and kind of just wanted to get like an actual kind of tally. I didn't, I guess, tally up specifically with him, but in 2014 it was Dallas, got Edmonton, and nationals in Tempe. All those were, just kind of great experiences. I think, one of the, just awesome things about paratriathlon in general is just all the people, that are involved, been able to meet, over the years. So
totally.
Just got to, start to meet some of these people, in the sport, and that are continue to stay in touch with, to this date. So that part's pretty cool. 2015, traveled down to Mexico. So that was pretty cool, in Monterrey, where they still have maybe a race or two there, like the junior race, and 23 there. So that was kind of a unique race there. And then I guess, that almost kind of leads into, in a way, the switch over to paracycling, temporarily with Aaron. 2015 timeframe, where, we jumped in because unfortunately the men, blind visually impaired category was not selected for Rio. So Aaron kind of quickly switched focus, and I stayed on with him as his pilot, is the term they use in paracycling. So we did a race in Asheville to kind of like, not get on the team, but kind of, establish ourselves. And then a couple of multi-week trips over to Europe, Italy, Switzerland, Germany, Switzerland, in 2015. So those were definitely some highlights, and making actually the national team, finishing second overall in one of the time trials was certainly a highlight there too. So I mean, Sarasota, Rotterdam, just kind of throwing out some of the races. And Edmonton again, Rotterdam again. So all of those, just kind of bring back their own unique memories.
For sure.
So
like, I mean, like I think you've won a couple of world champion. You were Aaron's guide for at least world titles, I think. And then
I think looking back, Edmonton in 2014. Ben raced with him in 2015 in Chicago, but 2016 in Rotterdam as well. And then, I can't remember, I think 2017 in Rotterdam, I think Dave might have been there. So that might have been a second place, but
I think that was
2014 and 2016, first overall world championship. So
it's pretty, I mean, pretty impressive. So it's actually funny. So like I kind of came into the triathlon world. I wasn't dabbling in paratriathlon quite yet. But like, I think my first race my first triathlon that I did was St. Anthony's back in 2015. And I think you either won it that year or were, top 3 or something. I remember you like either winning or being on the overall podium at St. Anthony's in 2015 or 2016, one of the years that I did it, and I was like, oh, I think I've heard that name before. I think that's Aaron's guide. And then it's funny that that was the first time that I heard about you. And then we fast forward to 2018, and all of a sudden we're racing against each other, and then you're guiding Aaron. You switch over to guiding Brad Snyder for a little bit. You kind of be kind of the go-to guy for like when people want to get their feet into paratriathlon. Like you're the dude that people reach out to now. On the VI side. What has that been like? Because you've guided world champions, you've guided the guy who became a gold medalist. You've guided, kids that are just getting into the sport. I mean, talk us through some.
Yeah, I think it all has kind of just naturally evolved. So, I mean, kind of my first, I guess, time with Brad, Amanda Duke, the former paratriathlon, program manager, had reached
Yep.
out. We got this Paralympic, swimmer who's interested in getting into triathlon, and we're doing this camp in Chula Vista, and Aaron wasn't going to go. Yeah, at that time I was still guiding Aaron. And they just asked if I was interested, and I was like, yeah. I always enjoyed the camps at Chula Vista. Those are definitely some of the more memorable moments. I wish they
Sure.
would bring those back, because those were, I think, always just great, ways
Yeah.
to kind of all be together and get in some good training. But yeah, just did that camp with Brad and continued to race with Aaron in 2017. But then, yeah, my first race with Brad was in Sarasota at the end of 2018. Supposed to
Yep.
be a triathlon, but turned duathlon because of the water
Yep.
quality and everything like that. And then continued to race race with Brad all through 2019. Several world paratriathlon events, WP, WPSs, as well as the world championships in Luzon, where
Yep.
we, I think, sixth, if I'm not mistaken.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And that was a hard, like, that was a pretty hard course from what I've been told. So
Yeah, that was definitely a couple big hills. Yeah, I mean, pretty technical. I mean, big downhill with this like big left turn at the bottom of like right at the bottom of the hill. Yeah, one of those like where you kind of wish you could keep that speed going a little bit, but you
sure.
really need to take advantage of the hill. But a couple of good uphills, fun course. And yeah, I think yeah, really solid, race for Brad as well. Just as he was continuing to, improve at that time. So.
Yeah, totally. And
And then
then
yeah, actually, COVID year obviously just, kind of threw everything up in the air. Obviously no
sure.
Tokyo, so that just kind of switched, just changed everything for everyone.
Yeah.
And then in 2021, Brad decided to go with Greg, as
Yep.
his guide, and then Owen Cravens, was obviously up and coming, been in this, sport, for a long time, and getting to
Mhm.
that point where, he needed someone, that could, kind of take him to that next level. So
Yeah.
jumped in, did Leon's triathlon in Indiana, Long Beach, the, Paranationals, and then he got an invite spot to the World Championships in Abu Dhabi in
Yep.
2021, where we finished fifth, I think,
Yep.
overall.
Yep.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then just this past year in 2022, continued to race with Owen. We were really all over the world. Sarasota, Yokohama, Spain, Canada, or Swansea, in the UK,
Yep.
back to Abu
Yep.
Dhabi. So it was
Yep.
quite the adventureful year, but had a lot of fun racing with him and traveling all around, and yeah, getting him some good experience. So
That's awesome. So like, I mean, I kind of want to talk, from your perspective, because uh, you know, you've guided from one end of the visually impaired spectrum to the other, where like, Owen is a B3, Aaron's a B2, and Brad is a B1. What
mhm.
what kind of challenges, and like what are the differences in like being a guide for each of those athletes, or each of those, on each of those spectrums?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, having started with Aaron and then, transitioning and guiding Brad definitely was a whole different, you know, things for me to learn, as a guy, just the much more hands-on, nature of guiding someone that is fully blind.
Mhm.
Just the, getting out of the water, making sure, person that's a B2, B3, is fairly self-sufficient, kind of making the turns on their own. Whereas obviously, someone that's fully blind, I mean, we're, literally holding each other, so
Yeah.
it's much more, close, physically, in contact with each other. So yeah, it took, I think, a little bit of time for me to learn, kind of just what he needed, as far as, more feedback, more verbally,
Mhm.
speaking got, turns coming here as far as coming out of the water, going into transition,
Hmm.
on the run course. I remember we were in Banyoles after Luzon in 2019, and there was all these speed bumps on the road, and it was just like threw his rhythm, totally off.
Yeah.
So it was just constantly like speed bump coming up. They were all different too. It was like,
Yeah.
uniform. It was all, a little bit longer, higher pitch, lower pitch. So it was just, he kept, tripping on him a little bit, but it was trying to just, give him as much information, like kind of holding on to him, so he didn't trip, fall forward.
Sure.
Uh, so just all those little details, I think, that a B1, needs to make sure that they have a good race,
Yeah.
versus B2, B3. I guess I didn't really notice too many differences, really between a B2, B3 with Aaron,
Right.
versus Owen.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Um, so switching gears just a little bit. You know, nutrition, like as you say, was kind of always you always were interested in eating healthy, cooking, and all that. You became a registered dietitian, um, all that. When did you first hear of infinite nutrition, and how, like, what was the like, did you start using them as an athlete first before going to work for them, or like talk us through your career path to this point?
Yeah. Yeah. So, after I passed my RD exam, my girlfriend at the time, but now wife, is from Cincinnati. So that's where we live. That's where, Infinite's based out of. So I kind of knew I didn't really want to be like a, clinical dietitian in the hospital. That wasn't really what kind of interested me. Knew I
Yeah.
kind of wanted, again, to going back to the, exercise fitness side of things, be a sports nutritionist, or, just something with, athletes, or physical activity, exercise, that kind of thing. So a job popped up at the University of Cincinnati, at the rec center. They were looking for kind of a nutritionist, dietitian. There wasn't a ton of hours at the time, so I kind of jumped back into personal training, which I had done a little bit of, at the University of Dayton, just to have a few more hours of work. It was kind of a contract position, so I wasn't a full-time employee of the on the rec. But at the end of the day, it worked out well because I kind of set my own schedule. So as far as kind of still being an athlete, guiding, being able to travel and do these races, it really
Yeah.
worked out pretty well. Kind of looking back at that. So I was there from 2013, pretty much started and then jumped right into that first race, with Aaron back in London.
Yep.
And then I was pretty much there until about 2017.
Mhm.
And I think I had heard about Infinite, to kind of answer that question. Like, was familiar with it. I think I did like the Ohio State indoor triathlon, and there was a guy there that was sampling some product back when I was at UD. So that was probably like 2009, maybe time frame. But just never really like fully connected. And then there was just this job opening for a formulation specialist. So for those that aren't familiar with Infinite, we do custom sports drinks, custom nutrition, also custom like protein recovery. So they were looking for someone to kind of fill that position. And at the time, we were expecting our first child. So the contract position at the rec, it just felt like having a slightly more stable 9 to 5 was going to be just a little bit better, versus the early training hours, waking up at 5 to get down to the rec and everything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, so kind of just fell into the position, and then I've been here ever since 2017. Actually, today is my 6-year anniversary. So
Wow. Look at that.
so that's kind of cool.
That's pretty
Yeah, it's
cool.
going really good. I really enjoy it. It's a small company, but really kind of thinking about it, it's essentially kind of a dream job in a way, where it's I always wanted to work for a sports nutrition company. I
Yeah.
get to work with endurance athletes, triathletes, cyclists, runners, you name it. So it's I get to talk to these people, help them with their nutrition, kind of help create them their own custom drink, and just ultimately help them have a good race experience, whatever they might be doing. So
yeah. So talk us through talk people through the process of like, I mean, obviously, Infinite has so many products and all that, and and there's so much customization that you can do. Um, but how like how would someone go about customizing their nutrition, using Infinite? I mean, you and I are probably gonna we're gonna probably be customizing my nutrition here in the next few weeks, because
yeah,
stuff changes and all that. So
right.
so talk people through what our process is going to be when we when I jump on the call with you, or you know how we go about formulating nutrition.
Yeah. Yeah, so a number of different things that we really look at. Certainly the event type. So, for you, sprint triathlon, primarily versus, someone that might be doing an Ironman, or, a century ride, or, an ultra marathon. We're going to kind of formulate the blend a little bit differently, as far as calorie levels go, as far as protein, things like that. Body size is certainly a factor. Generally speaking, someone that's a little bit taller, a little bit, more lean mass is going to burn more calories. So
Mhm.
naturally, we're going to want to try to get them a few more calories, in their blend. And we have
Mhm.
different, factors and calculations that we use to kind of help dial that in. Certainly sweat rate, is a big one for a lot of people.
Mhm.
How salty of a sweater they are, will help kind of determine how much sodium and electrolytes we put in the blend. And one of the big ones, especially for the long course athletes, is flavor.
Yeah.
So there's this whole idea and concept of flavor fatigue, when you're out there for hour after hour. I mean, you've done Ironman.
Oh yeah.
So, just what tastes good, hour one or hour two,
Yeah.
goes in is like, ugh, that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Exact same drink, right? So
Yeah.
Infinite, keeping all of the nutrition the same, all the calories, all the electrolytes still there, but going, lower on the flavor can help keep it more palatable,
Right.
just, more enjoyable, when you're 5 hours into an Ironman, or, a 100-mile, gravel ride, or whatever it might be. So,
Yeah.
uh, caffeine, another one. Some people, don't tolerate caffeine. Some people are looking for it. We can kind of talk through, especially again, the longer that you go, again, the more of these things kind of, tend to come into play, as far as, okay, how
Mhm.
can we optimize, your caffeine intake if you're doing a 24-hour, ultra marathon. You probably don't want to be on caffeine, right from the beginning. Maybe you want to
Right.
save it for, the last quarter of the race to really give you that
Right.
boost. But on the other side, if you're, a sprint athlete, you're racing for an hour, you want to make sure you're timing that caffeine so that it's in your system, at the right time. If you wait and take it on the run, I mean, it's really not going to be in your system until you're done with the race. So,
Yeah.
taking, something with caffeine, on the run portion of a short race isn't going to do a whole lot. So taking it before, maybe taking a little bit early on the bike, might help you at the, toward the end of the run. But,
Right.
looking at all those little details, those are the things that we can discuss, on
Mhm.
a free consult, that anyone can do. And, that's kind of what we do. And then we tailor it, and we make it, by hand, based on that conversation. So,
Yep. Yep. And I mean, you package it, right there in house as well,
yeah,
by hand
yeah,
and all that. I mean, I mean, I just have my previous, formula that I had made, a couple, like last year, I had that in my bottle this morning for swim. And,
yeah,
I mean, I drink my, my custom protein, or, even some of the pre-formulated stuff that you guys have. Like, I mean, I love is it the nocturnal
Nocturne,
protein?
yeah,
Yeah, nocturne at night. Like, I mean, that's I take that every night before,
yeah,
before going to bed. I mean, I love it. And I love that I can, go and adjust, like I said, I wish I had known about Infinite when I was doing Ironman, because
yeah,
yeah, that flavor fatigue, it's a real thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
And like, and like, I just, I like, I, I mean, it was just why I continue to continue to use it, and I mean, I absolutely love it. So, um, but yeah, so like what's kind of on the horizon for you? I know you competed as a you competed as a pro triathlete for for a little bit. You're up to your eyeballs with infinite, all that, but like, kind of what's on the horizon for you going forward in terms of sport, in terms of guiding, in terms of in terms of work, all the fun stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. Yeah, I mean, obviously, busy with Infinite. I coach a handful of people as well, both individually as well as a local high school team, the St. Xavier High School. We have a triathlon
Nice.
at the school, so I've been coaching there for a few years. But yeah, I'm not honestly not 100% sure at this point. Sounds like Owen's going, in a different direction with a new guide. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I've got two young girls, and just gonna kind of be a little bit more of a dad at this point, I think, for a little while, and kind of assess, what do I want to, you know, do age group nationals, train for a marathon. I ride on Zwift, a decent amount. So
Yeah.
figuring out which direction I want to go, and at this point, don't really have an exact answer on that one specifically.
Sure.
But yeah,
Nice, man.
yeah,
So, I mean, but hey, look, I mean, you've been so crazy, so crazy busy going in all different directions. I mean, it's probably honestly, it's probably not that bad to kind of be like, all right, I kind of get to choose where I want to go. It's kind
yeah,
of exciting.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, it's been an awesome journey. Again, like you said, 10 years. I think I did add up the totals, like 31. I think triathlons just as a guide,
Yeah.
including, we didn't really talk about it, but the last year the two mixed relay events as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
We
so
can absolutely dive in and talk about that, because that's a new format, and a fun, kind of fun. And
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I want to get your perspective on that. So
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome. I'm super glad that they're adding it in. I think it just creates, yeah, just another, dynamic to the sport. I know they have a relay and paracycling that
mhm.
tandems were never, really a part of. So it's cool that, all the categories can be a part of it. I guess for those that don't know, it's, two males, two females, with kind of a mix of all the different paratriathlon categories, wheelchair athlete, and then the, PT2 through PT, is it 5, and then,
Yep.
blind, visually impaired as well. Excuse me.
You're good.
And then, yeah, just, it's the super sprint, triathlon for each person, and, alternating, usually male, female. And yeah, it's just really, really fun. And like I said, kind of creates that team dynamic to an individual sport. So
Yeah, it's a blast, and yeah, you guys kicked our butts at the mixed team relay in Abu Dhabi. That's for sure. So
yeah, it was fun. It was fun. But yeah,
that was fun.
31 triathlons, including with those two,
Yeah,
from 2013 through 2022 of
yeah,
so excuse me, getting
you're
over
good, man.
cold still. And then on top of that, 10 cycling races with it.
Right.
So 7 states, 11 countries visited, 7 different training camps, from Chula Vista that we talked about, Seattle, Salt Lake City,
Mhm.
with Brad and with Wes.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been quite the
Yeah.
journey, and yeah, it's been yeah, quite the ride. So
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. Oh man. So so much cool stuff. I mean, and like you said, you've seen it all. Like, I kind of want to get just as we begin to wrap up, I kind of want to get your perspective on where the like you said, I mean, for 10 years of racing, you've seen the sport grow. Like, do you think like where do you think the health of paratriathlon is, and where's it going?
Yeah, I think it's in a really good spot, honestly, from at least from my vantage point. I mean, it seems like it's continuing to grow. The people that get in it are really passionate, about it. There's a lot of great organizations. I mean, Dare to Try, obviously one of the big ones that
Yep.
really helps grow the sport. Has their elite team, which I think really helps, as like a pipeline
Yep.
for the USA Triathlon team.
Yep.
Uh, and I think, yeah, USA Triathlon is behind it, as well, which obviously, you have to have their support in order for it to continue to thrive and, do well. So yeah, I think, and especially with the addition of the relay, again, that creates just this whole new dynamic, keeps people, kind of motivated to stay sharp, with their short speed, in addition to, the sprint, which is obviously still a relatively short race in the grand scheme of the triathlon world. But, if you're going to be competitive in that relay, you've got to be able to go fast. So it's going to be interesting, how that develops and, just how those teams are put together and everything like that. But I would imagine, that'll probably be in, the LA games. I would, be kind of surprised at this point if it's not, or so.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's awesome, man. And like if I mean, people hear it in the promos of the podcast, but let's go ahead and throw out that website if people want to learn a little bit more about Infinite and get hooked up with either you or one of the other formulation specialists to let's get people dialed in on their nutrition for training and racing.
Yeah. For sure. So yeah, it's just infinitenutrition.us and Infinite. So it's INFINIT nutrition.us. So yeah, just check us out there. You can schedule a consult and get in touch and we can have a conversation and get some custom blends dialed in for you.
Awesome stuff, man. Well, hey, Collin, one of these days you and I are going to have to race together, not against each other. We've had some fun battles over the years, but I'm pumped to I'm pumped to have Infinite on as part of my team. I'm pumped to be part of Team Infinite. We've got a great, amazing team of athletes as part of Team Infinite, and I'm so fortunate and lucky to be a part of it, and happy to have you along for the ride. And I'll be trust me, I'll be getting in touch with you pretty soon about let's get some formulas dialed in for me at least.
Awesome. Well, if Zach needs a break or something, then hit me up and maybe we can get a race in or something.
Awesome, that'd be sweet, man. We'll make it happen at some point, I promise.
Sounds good.
Awesome stuff. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in to Kicking It with the KTrain. As you can tell, Collin, when I race against him, he definitely helps me keep an eye on my vision by keeping me honest. But now he really helps me keep an eye on my vision by helping me dial in that nutrition with Infinite Nutrition. So thanks so much, everyone, and as always, keep an eye on your vision.